What's up, guys? Sean here from Srkcycles.com, and we have a 2004 Honda Rune, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be break it down real clear. I'm gonna tell you why you probably don't want to buy this bike. But for a second, let's just take a look at it real quick, because this bike is sick. Let's do it. Let's do a test drive. Alright guys, words of wisdom, Romans 8:18. The pain that you've been feeling cannot compare to the joy that is coming. Amen. Alright, so for those of you guys that has never heard of a Rune, I'm gonna be honest, I've never seen one. I never saw a Rune until I owned it, which is always the best way to learn the best way to buy something. It's so much more exciting that way. It's like buying an auction house that you never got to look into. You get that little bit of gamble. But I've heard the reputation precedes it. These things are legend. They made these things for 18 months from 2004 to 2005. And when they came out, they were $27,000, and it actually took them 6 years to design this bike. 6 years. And there was this pretty much, all right, so what this really is, this is a piece of art, and we're going to get into more of that a little bit later. But they took 6 years to design this bike. And I don't know how this happened. It baffles everyone's mind how the people at Honda actually allowed, people working on this thing for 6 years, but for this thing to actually come from concept to the multiple concept phases to the actual bike that we see here. Because normally things get shot down and that piece is going to cost too much, so change it and all these things. And there's this big battle between the designers and the engineers. So the designers design, they say this is what it's going to look like. The engineers go in and say, well, that's not going to work. You got to change this, this, and this. And they went back and said, we're not changing anything. You guys step up your game and figure it out. Now the big, this happened multiple times throughout this whole build of this bike. The biggest thing that everyone, that's mainly talked about is the radiator. So they designed this thing, and this is a very retro hot rod type of look. They designed this thing with that radiator, and when they actually tested it, the size of the radiator, where it was going to go and how it was going to be designed, only did about 20% of what they needed it to do. So then normally, the engineers went back and say, well, you got to move the fender, you got to change this, you got to change this, you got to move this bigger, you got to make this dumber. And then the designers were like, nope, you need to step up your game, and you need to make a radiator that fits in the spot we gave it, and that cools at 100% of what we needed to do. And they did. They figured out they got more fins, they got more waves. I don't know what they did. Maybe more cores, I don't know. But they figured it out. And that is awesome. And then somehow they were able to keep this amazing looking bike. That's what's so impressive to me. The whole fit and finish of it, every little piece. And what's interesting is that when they started designing this bike, they designed it with that would have been in the Goldwing 1500, era. And then when it actually was made, it ended with a Goldwing 1800 motor. So, a beautiful bike. Let's talk a couple reasons of why maybe it's not the bike for you, or maybe why you don't want this bike. One, they are expensive. This bike is selling, I think, not quite $20,000. It's got 6,000 miles. and they hold their value like crazy. It's very possible this bike could just continue to go up in value. because they only made about 3,000 of them, and they're not reproducing, they're not duplicating. You know, other runes are not mating with other runes and having little baby runes. I might buy that Corvette. I want you guys, let me know what you think. It's modded up a little bit. It's pushing up about 420 horsepower. I'm thinking about it. So it's a C5. I think first year of the C5, 98. It is stick shift, of course. So they're getting more rare. If you come under this with the mentality of, I'm gonna modify my bike, I'm gonna modify, it's a Harley mentality. The sport bikes do it too. Most guys do it. And where I'm gonna buy that bike, but you know, stock, oh no, stock, I can't keep it stock, no, you know, and stock is the worst possible thing out there for you. This is not the bike for you, because one, there does not exist aftermarket parts for this thing. There's nothing out there. You can't do anything to it. There's nothing out there. And here's the scoop. Why? You can't. Are there aftermarket parts to change Picasso's paintings? Are they like, oh, here's a sticker you put on top of the guy's face to make him look like someone else, you know, make him look like George Clooney. Now, there's no aftermarket parts for art. There's no aftermarket parts. You don't modify art. Art is art the way it is. You keep it the same. And this is basically one of those ridiculous, you know those concepts car companies and bike companies put out, they're so futuristic, they're so insane looking, and you're like, no way, I can't believe Ford's finally gonna make the new 2022 Bronco. That looks amazing, I would so buy it. And then they come out with it and you're like, what is that? That's not what you told me it was gonna be. Because when the concept is the designers flexing their muscles and being like, yes, this is sick, and then the engineers go in and just destroy their dreams, just crush their dreams in half, and then somehow we end up with the product that we get. This is some type of rare, crazy situation. The only other vehicle I could really think about to compare it to would be the Fisker Karma. If you look at the Fisker Karma, you're like, whoa, that is sick. That's a sweet looking vehicle. And the guy was a really good designer. He was designer for a lot of other cars too. I can't think of any, but if you look it up, it's pretty interesting. So this is this is a vehicle like that. This is basically a concept bike that somehow they made 3,000 concept vehicles, and then it went in, you know, in the production, which is nuts. So replacement value, basically, you know, if you scratch a tank on this, if you dent the tank and you can't get that fixed, I have no idea what it's gonna cost. You know, I should find that out. I should call up Honda and be like, hey, what's it gonna cost me to get a Honda Rune tank? That'd be a good idea. So you can't customize it. You shouldn't. You can't really, you know, you can break it. I'm sure, like the breakable parts. I mean, it is what is nice about it is a Goldwing power plant. So all that stuff. So don't get me wrong. There's no like lack of longevity with this bike in terms of mechanically. Man, that sound. That sound. Let's just go jump on the highway. But when it comes to you actually just modifying it, just don't do it. If I ever see a Honda Rune and the guy was like, I'm just gonna take the exhaust off and put this little like trumpet can on it, I might just flip out. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could help it. You should. We can't. We're not going to stand for this, guys. We're not going to stand for this nonsense. So, I'm trying to think other reasons why you don't want to buy this bike. It ain't cheap. I have no idea if it's even possible to finance this bike. I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could probably finance it. Let's go jump on the highway. Maybe it sucks on the highway. It doesn't. It's awesome. Like I said in my other Rune video, I do feel like I'm riding like a speeder from Star Wars. The handlebars come back, it all goes up front. I feel like I'm riding something out of the future. I can't actually see my tires. For all I know, I'm just floating on air. I mean, look at this right now. You don't see any wheels. For all we know, I am floating on air and just doing that speeder thing. I mean, this is, let me turn my mirror a little bit and check out the acceleration just on the highway. It has power wherever you want it. Now I'm going the speed limit, and the speed limit is changing, but I really don't feel that much wind. I don't feel like I'm getting beat up over here when I'm cruising highway speeds. And that's kind of surprising to me because I have no windshield. If I see one person put a windshield on a Honda Rune, why on a... Alright guys, that's gonna wrap up this test drive. This bike has 6126 miles on it. It is for sale. If you want it, awesome. If you don't, and you just enjoy me riding it and me making videos about it, I am perfectly happy just keeping this bike in my own little collection because I love it. It's the best. If I had this bike when I met my wife, when I met the girl who became my wife, it wouldn't have taken us 13 months between the time I met her and by the time we got married. It would have taken her 30 minutes. As soon as I bust out the Rune, she'd be like, let's do it. Let's just get married. Let's just get married. He's got a Rune. I'm just throwing that out there, guys. It makes me wonder how many guys met their wives in these past 6,100 miles. How many guys made girls their wives? And these, like how many couples did this Rune actually bring together? Hundreds, thousands, I don't know. All right guys, that wraps it up. Remember, the tie-down straps that we used to transport this bike, not the first time, but the second time. The first time Tim used some cheap straps and I was kind of annoyed at him. But the second time was tank straps. The best tie-down straps out there, the best. It's the only tie-down straps we use. They're available right now. You can buy them on our store at bikesandbeergear.com, or you can buy them on Amazon. If you're an Amazon Prime member, go buy them on Amazon. I think we ran out. We're all out of them at our store, but they have tons of them at Amazon. I think we're getting some in today, actually. All right, guys, that wraps it up. They're the best straps out there. Remember, it's not what you're riding, but where you're going. We'll see you guys later. What's up, guys? I'm Sean. Thanks for watching that great video. And as always, click down here to subscribe. And here's the next fun video for you guys to watch. We'll see you guys next time.
And that wasn't far enough away.
And I had no clue. I'm just gonna tell you guys to back off. Train your bikes, and listen, it's not what you're riding, but where you're going. We will see you guys later. We're pumped.